Hello everyone and welcome back to Run It Up number 101 today. Yes, that's right. We're here today playing some 25 cent to 50 cent no limit Texas Hold'em on ultimatepoker.com. And as you can see, we've already done a little bit of work. I haven't been playing for too long. I've only been playing for like maybe 5 minutes. And I was down a little bit, and then I made some decisions that actually won me money. I know. I actually haven't forgotten how to do that. So that worked out okay for us. We'll talk more about that in a second, I suppose. Don't know either of these guys prior to this session, I believe. And I think that's it. I do have a little bit of information now that I've been playing this for like 5 minutes, but not a ton, obviously. But as the session goes on, I'll kind of reference maybe some of the hands that I played in the beginning segment of the session. But the big one was that I raised sixes on the button. This guy re-raised U4 T2 go. Something like that. I'm sure I'm just missing what it's like some super cool message, but I don't know what it says. So U2 over there says re-raised. I raised the button to sixes. He re-raised in the big blind. I called. It came 3-3-8. He bet. I called. Turn was a 7. He bet. I called. River was a queen. He shoved and I called. And he had ace 9. So that's the only hand that, or that's the most significant hand of the session so far. In this hand, I went to raise, call, I re-raised, and this guy just called. I have a feeling he's a little bit wider here than most people. I'm not really sure how much wider, but I think he is slightly wider than normal. My plan is to check back and then to seriously consider calling on most rivers. We lose to queens and like pocket pairs and stuff like that, but if he bets river, there's not really a ton of hands that make sense for him to play that way. We beat flush draws, jack 10, king 10, king jack, and I feel like this guy is like, Peely Peter over there, at least slightly. I mean, could we be losing this? Yeah, for sure. But to call 9 to win 38 against a guy that I've already kind of seen do some kind of silly things, I don't think we can fold this. I wish he had bet like 19. It's funny because if he bet more, I'd be more concerned. I'd be more convinced that my hand might be good. When he bets smaller, you're like, well, maybe he has a hand exactly like 2 6s, but I don't think we can fold getting that price on the river there. But I do think it's like, I don't think it's even really that close. It's only close because he bet so small. If he had bet bigger, I'd be like, yep, call. He gives us a chance to escape the cage there slightly, I think. But I don't think we can fold given that we have seen him do some kind of peely things in the past. Not that they're necessarily even bad, just that I haven't seen him fold in some situations. So if he's starting out with more hands, he has more hands on the river. So I think we should consider calling, or heavily consider calling on the river. So I'm in for 50, and I'm up currently $2.90, depending on the outcome of this hand. Hopefully we can run it up today. I feel like we've gotten smacked around a little bit lately, but hopefully today we'll turn it around a little bit. Gonna start here with a call with our open-ender and ace high. Not that it's the best open-ender in the world, but an open-ender nonetheless. Okay. Might have the best hand. Tis a possibility. Against a check, he's probably not calling here with worse very often, and he's almost certainly never folding better than us. I guess we check back, and I'm not really 100% sure. Maybe we should bet turn. It's close, I think. I thought checking back was actually okay. So he bet out on flop, and now here we are. I think we actually just fold. I don't know how many hands he can have that we lose. We only beat like jack 9 and like 10-9, and there's not really a ton of hands that he should be playing this way that we lose to. Now maybe I should have bet turn to get him to fold his like random pair type things, but I don't think it could be too big of a decision. It's not too big of it's like, given that we don't have a ton of information, I feel like either path is probably like similarly viable in value. And but yeah, maybe I should just bet turn. But either way, it can't be that big of a difference. Like the queen is like one of the worst cards for us on the river. I mean, jacks I think are not as bad. 10s are not as bad. Aces are obviously fine. Kings suck, but we're not losing at that point. And I guess nines kind of are not great, but we probably wouldn't fold on nines with having made the 2 pair. So I think like the queen is like the worst card in the deck for us, but I guess we can fold on the worst card in the deck. But yeah, I guess in this exact scenario, betting turn would have been slightly superior. Look at this. Folding a suited hand on the button. Wow. What a miracle. What a miracle. I have a friend, Kevin, below above, who used to say every time he folds a suited hand on the button, an angel gets its wings. I feel very similarly to that as Kevin does. So yeah, that's a true thing. So I got myself some Dear J. Carver emails here. Yes, that's right. As this table fills up, we have another Run It Up warrior joining us, Doc August. Yes, that's right. So if you want to write me an email, you can write me an email, dearjcarver@gmail.com, and send the what's on your mind, kid. You're over there thinking, you're like, man, I'm feeling a little down. My tomato garden has not been watered in so long, and I'm really upset about it. So the only way that I can feel better is to write an email. Write me an email. Don't hold yourself back, I can't tell you what to do. I am not the boss of you, but if you want to, write me an email. Here's an email for you. Yo, bitch. Oh, one of the heartwarming emails, I suppose. Must be from my mother. Bet, I guess. $2.50, $2. I could have bet a little bit less than $2.50, I guess, because this guy is kind of short stacked, so probably $2 is nearly as efficient, but I could have saved ourselves 50 cents here. Certainly betting is fine, but I could have bet maybe a little bit less. But it's obviously not an enormous difference. But okay, you got it. Check to you. You got it, bud. Yo, bitch. Dear J. Carver, when you were playing a live tournament, do you talk to yourself in your head like you do out loud during Run It Up? Yes, actually, I would say very similarly to that. I'd say yes. I mean, I don't say everything I say for Run It Up because I natively understand a lot of things that I say to you guys, and there's other levels of things maybe that I would take into account live that I don't online, but pretty similar too. Very similar too, I would say. Okay, well, yeah, like you say here, so do you say to yourself, okay, well, you ask me, do you say to yourself, okay, well, we are facing a decision here between raising and calling? No, that I don't do. I don't say, well, I could raise or fold. I mean, I guess I do to some degree, but not really. I mean, some of it is for run it up purposes, but similar to it, yes, that's right. I'm a big fan of always, evaluating all of your potential options in your decision tree. So I feel like you can go, well, what does raising accomplish? What does calling accomplish? What does, and if you're always cycling through those things, that's the best way, in my opinion, to kind of feel, to kind of be, I don't know, not just necessarily to make the best decision, but also to like improve your poker game, generally speaking. Well, what happens if I raise here? What happens if I call here? And even on this show, I think there'll be very often situations where I won't go through that exercise, but the ideal is that I'm always thinking of it. I'm always thinking of that. So even like the ace king hand before, when we were facing the bet on the river, I did consider raising, but then you think about it and go, well, we're not really telling much of a story here, and we do beat so many of the hands he's bluffing with anyway. So we don't lose to, and I don't think raising makes a ton of sense. I'm not even sure he would fold a hand like that if we did raise. So I felt all in all like, Cyborg Sharon Osbourne appears, the rarest of the avatars. Welcome, Sharon. Looking great today, I'll point out. Love what you've done with your hair. Gonna call here. I haven't seen this guy do this re-raise thing. I've seen him raise a lot pre-flop with a wider range than you would expect, but I haven't seen him re-raise like this. But I can't fold getting 3-1, especially with a hand as pretty as this. Not the best flops for us. Going to start with a check and see what he does. If he bets on the smaller side of things, it's possible that we are behind, surely. But if he bets on the smaller side of things, I will consider sticking around. Checking is interesting. So if we bet, will he fold better than us? Yes, I think it's possible. He might fold a hand as good as, I would say perhaps he'll fold a hand as good as pocket sixes, perhaps. I think that he might fold a hand like ace king. I think that's not that crazy of a thing to expect, and I also think that it's possible he'll fold a pair. If he shoves, well, that would be sad. 8 is an interesting river card for us. So I think it's fairly unlikely that he has a straight here, so I think we can try to bluff this. I mean, I feel like he most likely just has like a weak pair or like an ace high, like ace king with ace or the king of clubs, something like that. I don't love this, but I think it works often enough, risking 26 to win 40. Also, he's never seen us bluff yet. He's thinking about it. It's like, oh my god, what to do? All right. We did it, kids. We did it. We did it. Finally. I feel like we haven't like successfully won a pot that big in forever. And we have to earn it too. They won't just give it to us. We have to like scrape and claw. Wow, what a claw that was. Niddly over here, you know? Just speaking of Niddly, by the way, if you know what that is, I made it to gold, season 4. That's right. You're looking at gold Jay Carver, League of Legends over here. Ballin'. That's right. Thanks to Mr. Wukong, we just pretty much did it. I'm like 13-2 with Wukong. Very proud of that. Gonna call here in the button with Queen Deuce of Hearts. So yeah, I think that ace queen hand makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's very hard for him to have too many 10s. Like, what does he have? He has like pocket 10s exactly. He has like ace 10 with the 10 of clubs somehow. Like, you know, there's not really a ton of hands that should have straights, and I didn't think he was particularly strong. Plus, we have the information that we know that he starts wider than most people do. So we know, or at least I suspect, that he is a more... he is a wider player to begin with as far as the hands he starts out with. So if that's true, then he just will have more hands that are not good on the river, making our bluff more effective. Let's go with effective. So yeah, so I think that'll make sense. And then plus the math on the river, we're risking 25 or 26, whatever it was, to win 40. I think we win that often enough to show a profit. Thankfully, our opponent agreed with us and said, "You got this one, kid." Which is exactly what we're looking to do. It's actually, I guess, not 0% chance that we're run it up. That's right. That's right. Oh, I guess I can't even see chat. Oh. I didn't know I had chat off. Oh. Wow. I didn't know we would. I didn't know people were talking here. Oh, look at this. I have no idea what he's talking about, but I have no idea. But apparently he bet his left nut that we had a turned flush. Not that I'm looking for an additional one of those, but bad news for you, kid. That's you should have just paid the $26. It would have been a cheaper investment, I think. He said he has queens. Well then. If he had queens, looks like that was the incorrect fold. I mean, if he had queens, it's obviously a tough spot, but that's why it's such a good bluff, because maybe he folds a hand as good as queens, which would be sweet, you know? So I think that it isn't like an unviable sort of a thing to have. So, all right. Even better. Even better. Not only did we bluff, but he got mad about it and typed about it in chat. That always makes me feel extra happy. It's great, you know. First of all, nobody should be upset about that, you know. I don't know how upset he is, but he looks a little upset, you know, slightly upset. Play bad and get saved by your site. Yeah, that's what I did. You know. Oh, that's kind of funny. Anyway, so thanks for your email, Matt. But yeah, unfortunately, I guess the answer is yeah, I kind of do, but you know, not 100% of the time. Not exactly the same way. Okay. Dear Jake, hey Jay Carver. Oh, no, dear Jay Carver. Okay. Hey Jay Carver. Just wanted to say you do a great job. Thank you. Congrats on 100 episodes. Thank you. Non-poker question though. Ah, my favorite. Who is your favorite League of Legends champion? Is it Dr. Mundo? I saw the Mundo shirt in a recent episode. That's right. I actually been wearing that quite a lot lately because I've been so fond of it, generally speaking. What is your favorite League of Legends champ, and what is your favorite build for said favorite champ? I can't give you a favorite build. I mean, it's not like I do anything that's like so spectacular. It's like the J Carver secret recipe, the Wukong success or something like that. But thanks for your question, Sean. And I don't know. I have favorite. I actually play a lot of Kate. I play Kate with the Sheriff skin, of course, because how do you not? But I think like my favorite champion these days is definitely Wukong. I've been playing so much Wukong these days. And oh, hey there. I have 5 of the black cards. There they are. You can look at them for yourself if you like. Wukong is probably the champion I play most often. Favorite, I do really like Mundo, but I don't think he's my favorite. I'd have to think, I guess, about what my actual quote-unquote favorite would be. Is this a post and a call? Is that what this is? This hand is certainly good enough to raise against a guy who's probably calling so widely. And if this is a post, which I believe it is, because I don't think I've seen him play for a while. If it's a post, then we're going to be pretty ahead with our King Jack, and I'd be happy to play a pot, even out of position, against a random pair of cards. Pretty decent flop for us all in all. If he had an ace, he'd probably be at least somewhat likely to just raise it to begin with. So I believe we're going to win this pot most of the time right here. And if not, we might still win the pot on the turn and or the river. I wish I knew for sure if he posted or not. Is there any way I know for sure? No, it doesn't look like I can. Oh, yes, I can tell maybe. Yes, he did check. So let's start with a call here. We're going to get in there, kids. That's right. We're going to get in there, kids. Hopefully he doesn't just have 6-5 offsuit, because that would be kind of sad. Not it would be one hand he could play this way that does actually beat us. And the 8 is actually kind of like a scary turn card for us, because it'll make him more resistant to stick around. Like if turn card was like a deuce or something, I actually thought the King Jack could definitely be the best hand on the flop. He could just be putting pressure on us with some variety of hands. But I think it's going to be hard for us to win the pot here with aggression. I was considering doing something like this, and I believe it's actually fine, but I think we just fold now. I know it's not like necessarily the most beautiful play, because it just didn't work out too well for us on turn here, but I feel like, oh, okay, well, we dodged at least, putting more money in the pot. But given the assumptions that we're making there, like I thought that if he had an ace, he'd be at least somewhat likely just to raise pre-flop, which is possible instead of check. So that reduces, though doesn't eliminate, that reduces, in my opinion, the number of aces he can have. So the fact that he didn't raise pre-flop, and then we're on the flop, and then he's like min-raising us, it could very easily be just like, well, if J Carver doesn't have an ace, he'll just fold, which is a reasonable thing to do, actually. Like, I actually think his decision-making process could be perfectly flawless in this spot. And I think a min-raise is a great thing to do, because if I have just like 10-9 suited or something, what am I going to do? Call and then do whatever? But I think with a hand as good as King Jack in that spot, if he doesn't have an ace, we are usually going to be ahead. And I think that he's, going to not have us beat there too often. But when the 8 turns, I just kind of felt like, a lot of the hands he does raise with, like 6-7, 7-8, those hands are not going to fold to aggression on the turn. And if he does have us beat, we're obviously going to be we're still very well behind at this point, if not drawing stone dead. So that was my logic behind there. We did obviously torch whatever the raise was on the flop, but I think the rest of the hands' decisions were all pretty much fine. So we lost an extra like 350 that we didn't have to. But okay, well, this is not a hand that you would like to be having, that you'd like to have in this spot. We're dominated by Ace King and Ace 10 and King Queen and lots of other things. But we do have position, and we do have a pretty good price, so I think calling is fine. But folding would be very reasonable as well. But I didn't make it all this way. I didn't come all the way to Vegas just to fold. Let's be real. You can't run it up if you fold. All you can do is knit it up. That's not nearly as fun. But this might have been a fold straight up to begin with. It's a little bit, it's very tenuous, I think. There are so many other hands that I would like slam dunk call. Like if we had like 10-8 suited, I'd be like, yes, this is a great spot. But King 10 is like literally one of the worst hands to have in this situation, which is why it's a hand you should consider folding the most there. We flop a king or a 10, both times you're like, ugh. It's never going to be like a slam dunk situation unless you flop 2 pair or better, which is very unlikely. So I could have just folded that pre-flop. I actually would say it got to be 101. We're playing episode 101. It's got to raise to 101. I mean, I don't see how we don't raise to 101. So I guess we could have done that We could have saved $6 at pre-flop, but it can't be too bad because, you know, we're putting in $6 and the return on those $6 is probably like, at worst, it's like five and change or something like that. Very happy to call here. This is a pretty standard re-raise for this guy. He makes it like 150 more in the big blind, so quite happy to call in position given the price. And looks like we are not even close to pair making status, even with my super optimistic what we've got on the flop. We don't have very much. We've got a nice backdoor straight draw. The old 3 and 5er is all we need to make a straight. That's cool. Against the check, I don't think I'm planning on doing anything aggressive. Against the bet, I think we just say, okay, you got this one, kid. But even, you know, I feel like that hand seems like a play itself. I don't think you can do anything else. We have too good of a price to fold pre-flop, and I think on a flop as poor as that, I mean, we could do aggressive things that involve calling and doing other aggressive types of things, but yeah, I think that was not to be. So if we hadn't won the hand with ace queen, we'd have just been completely like, I don't think we'd have won a pot yet. I think if we hadn't made the magic happen with the ace queen, I feel like we would not be we would be an offer for this whole session. Oh, another run up, yeah. Another Dear J Carver email here. Dear J Carver, fellow Long Islander. Oh, hello. Do you intentionally line up the strings on your hoodies with the white line on the Ultimate Poker screen? The white line. Check it out. It happens in so many past videos. I'm obsessing over it. Well, I have no idea what you're talking about, so I don't think so. The hoodies with the white line on the UP screen. Oh, I see. The line, like this line right here, that is what you're talking about, and it goes around. Is that possible? Could be right. You could be right. I haven't ever intentionally done that, but it does seem like it's about right. I'm about split through it. Yeah, I guess that could be a thing. Nice. All right. You asked me to get a theme song. You say nice things. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Episode 96. Been watching for 3 weeks. That's crazy. Dear J Sizzle. Wow. I think you didn't mean for me to read this on screen because there's a lot of words here, but I will read this. I do read all these Dear J Carvers, even if I don't read them on camera. Some of them just aren't made for me to read to you guys, unless you'd like me to read to you this huge 19-paragraph email or whatever. All right. Dear J Carver, first of all, love your videos. Thank you. Been watching since eating cake. Wow. That's the old days. Very old days. Different regime was in town for those days. It was a whole different world back in them eras. My question is about recovering my confidence after a downswing, which is the subject of your email. So yes, I did gather that much. I've been playing poker for a little over 2 years, and though I've never been a particularly high volume player, that's all right to me neither. I've played 60,000 hands in 2013, and I steadily ran up my bankroll until I was at a point where I was planning to take a shot at 100 no limit. Okay, that's pretty good. From wherever you started to have like 3K or 2K or whatever that is, that makes sense. Which, by the way, is way, that's proper bankroll management, unlike what we follow here, where even this is too much technically for our 1K, but we do what we please. Yeah, we do as we please, that's for sure. However, over Christmas and the New Year, I had a bad downswing and had to drop down. I've had downswings before and bounced back, but none this bad. And since then, I've really struggled to start playing regularly again because university is getting more work. And when I do play, I find myself second-guessing myself and have a generally negative, unfocused mindset. I was wondering if you had any advice for things like this or anything I could do to pull myself out of this slump. Best regards, Flynn. Well, thanks for your email, Flynn. And I've never had a Flynn as a friend before. That would be a new name. Uncharted Friendship Territory Association Free Zone. You know? Like, you know, if you meet like a Jacob, I'm like, oh my god, another Jacob. How is this going to end this time? You know, I'm just saying, I don't know. As a random example, I just know, you know, I have no negative connotations with Flynn. It's a wide open canvas, you know, I'm just saying. So... Your question is about running bad and all that stuff, and I would say that the one thing that somebody told me, or is not really a super like private, but one thing that I heard early in my poker career that I found to be very true is that somebody said that you will at one point in your life run worse than you ever thought possible for longer than you ever thought possible, and it's just like how poker is, and variance is so huge in poker. I think one of the biggest mistakes that amateur players or novice players make in poker is that they underestimate the frequency of variance. He might have the best hand. You had a deuce there, kid. I guess we can look and see, how that actually played. Because he just decided to go nuts, I guess. Oh no, he checked out of the blind. Bet, raise, shove. He had himself a deuce. 3-4 of diamonds, you were ahead. Yeah, I actually believe that the deuce might have been ahead. Whether or not he had 3-4, I still believe the story of that he might have been ahead. Gonna bet out $1 here. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that amateur players make is that they don't properly account for how much overall variance plays, and that to truly meet the long-term invariance, you really need to play a ton of hands. Like 100,000 is a reasonable sample size to lose over and still be like a winning player, I think. I'm not really much of like a math guy or a statistics guy or anything like that, but I believe that that's pretty true, that 100,000 hands is a very reasonable sample to play and lose over. We have a decision here between checking and betting. I would check if I thought he had nothing, give him a chance to bluff. I would bet if I thought he had something that was not going to bet itself. I feel like I would like to just bet and get him to call with any combination of pair sorts of things. I guess we made the wrong decision there. Should have checked. Not necessarily, but I feel like that was, given that he folded so quick, he likely should have just checked. But I thought he had more pairs than he had draws. Also, there's not even necessarily a high chance that he's going to bet if he, was check due. But I think that people play like 5,000 hands and they're like, wow, I lost. This is brutal. This is also why that live poker is so brutal, because you play so few hands per hour. So to really reach the long run, it's very easy to have like a downswing live that lasts for a very long time because you're just not playing enough hands. And that's very similar, I think, to kind of run it up, especially because we have been playing for such a high percentage of our bankroll. Losing half the bankroll isn't really that hard to do when you're playing $100 buy-in, tournaments with 2K and 1-2 and stuff like that. The variance is very high, and a proper bankroll strategy for having $1,000 is to play 10 cent, 25 cent, and 25 cent, 50 cent on really good days. Especially if you're going to multi-table, you should definitely be playing smaller than you expect to be playing. And if you've been playing and losing, there are some things you can do to kind of make yourself play better, because there is a mental impact when you're playing and getting beaten on. So the first thing I would say to do is that it really helps to make some friends or find some friends that play poker and that you can show sessions with and share sessions with, because that's the best way that you can kind of like level yourself out, and kind of serves as like a sanity check, and you just improve. So you guys hang out, share hand history. As you look at his session, he looks at your session, and he goes, wow, this is really creative, bold you're doing here. And then, you have to defend yourself and you can't, and, that sort of thing is sweet, because you'll just like learn every, all tides rising makes the boats float better, as we've been through this before. So, I feel like that's still applies in this case. So that's definitely a thing. If you don't have any friends or don't like making friends or any of those things, I think that another thing you can do is to just play smaller. So if you're playing 50 cent and dollar as your primary game and you've been losing at that for a while, but you still have the bankroll to play that game, I strongly encourage you just play one table or a couple tables at much smaller stakes, because it will help repair your confidence. The player pool will be weaker, and you go and book a win, and you kind of just be like, all right. It's like kind of I don't know. I don't really know what sporting thing this can be compared to, but it's kind of just like, you're just reassembling your confidence in an easier pool before playing with your normal level of competition. So if you're doubting your moves, you're doubting what you're capable of, you're doubting all of those things, I would encourage you to just drop down for a little bit and just kind of rebuild your confidence at the lower stakes. As I recall, he limped, we raised, he called, and then he bet flop, we called, and now here we are, which we'll be calling again. We could be beat, but I also think we're ahead more often than not. We river to flush draw, that's cool. My plan is probably not to fold. We beat Queen 10. We beat all the other straight draws except for 10-8. We beat diamonds, King 10, ace highs, things like that. I mean, you know, I feel like given that we've played this hand kind of weak-ish, we have a lot of ace highs I think he perceives that can't call possibly. And I think we can call getting this price. We lose to nines and jacks and things like that, but we don't lose to too many things. I think we can call this and feel okay about it. All right. That's right. We don't have too many opportunities to ring the pink bell these days because you gotta take them when you can find them. You know, when there's you're driving on the I-15 and you see a exit sign that says pink bell possible rest stop here, you gotta just take it and pull over. You know, there's really, you know, you gotta enjoy the journey. You know, that's all I can say. So how did he play that hand? King 10. He limped and then he bet and then he bet and then he bet again. I mean, it's a way to play the hand. I don't think, I guess we fold ace highs and things like that. All right, well, we might have to flip for 100 here. I guess, I mean, you know, people, you know, you assume that, I don't know, man, it's 2014. 2 10s, are those not just good enough just to go to town with? Especially against two limpers, we could be in here so wide. You know, he could be just attacking that we're attacking. Not that I know that for sure, and he likely isn't. But I think 2 10s is just too good. I think we have to just go with it. We just re-raise and don't fold. As much as I am like less than thrilled with it, you can definitely have ace-king. So at least there's that. And, you know, we lose obviously to Jackson better, but I think he has worse often enough. And he might even perceive this to be something that isn't super strong because we didn't just like shove, obviously. So calling is not an option that I was anticipating. Well, it's kind of a weird. I would have thought it was like under 5% that he was going to call there. I'm not sure what we're gonna do here. All this tanking is also very weird. I'm not really sure what to do with this here. I mean, are there really too many hands that he plays this way that he wouldn't just like pick pre-flop what to do with? Like if he had a hand like 2 7s or 2 9s, wouldn't he just shove pre-flop? Would he really call? And if he did do that, would he really do this? I wish we had a time bank to think through this because I'm actually not 100% sure, but I think folding is better. I just feel like I'm not really too confident that he's just messing around with us pre-flop. Like, that alone already seems kind of unlikely. So if he's not messing around with us pre-flop, or at least we don't think he is, given that flop there, I don't think he has very often jacks or queens, so it's probably just shove pre-flop. I don't think he has kings too often either. But I think if he has any hand that's going to flat, he has a hand like ace-jack. That's like, if you had to make me pick a hand that would make sense for that play, I think ace-jack is like right in there. And ace-jack, like ace-queen, you know, those hands are very reasonable to play that way. Ace-10 suited, maybe. But, you know, in all my experience, the hands that you most often see that just call are hands that are like, well, let's see if we make a pair. And if they do, they go, we're all in. You know, it's hard to imagine that he has a hand like what, 2 5s? And he's then just, like, re-raising pre-flop. Then he's calling our re-raise. And then he is just open shoving. You know, that's a pretty unlikely parlay to hit and to show up with the best hand with 10s, you know. So is it possible that we made a mistake on the flop? I guess it's possible. It's certainly possible. Let's be real about that. It's certainly possible we made a mistake. Then he had just like, but it would be such a bold play with like king queen, you know, if he was just like re-raise, which makes sense actually. Re-raise, ace high flop, you know, we're protected in that spot because I think if it had any ace, we're obviously calling. We can definitely have ace king. We could probably have ace queen. And I think that we're not even for sure folding with our other pairs like kings and queens, stuff like that. And I actually think that let's say that we have in this situation, we have 9s, 10s, yeah, sure. Let's say we have 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, kings, ace, king, ace, queen. Ace, king, ace, queen are always calling. 9s and 10s can fold. Jacks can do whatever. Queens and kings will call. I feel like that's relatively, not that that's like perfectly balanced by any means, but I feel like that's like, you know, a relatively a decent spectrum of decisions that we're probably going to make, even though kings and nines are very similar in value in that situation. We're not going to fold all of them, I don't think. So I think that's okay all in all. But he played it well if he had us not beat. If he had us beat, then I would imagine that happened post-flop. But, all right, I guess it could have been worse for us, because if he had just shipped it in, we obviously weren't going to fold, and we probably were going to lose that pot. So interesting hand there, actually. One of the more interesting hands of recent memory, I would go so far as to say. Oh, all the puppy dog feet, eh? Well, I wish our friend was in this pot, because I feel like he's the one that is most likely to put money in the pot, as we can see here. So, I think, man, I mean, when this guy doesn't bet on the flop, you kind of really worry that he's just got nothing. But I'm going to be greedy and try to get a bet from one of these guys, checking here twice. Maybe it's going to just check through. We're going to win $4 here. 4 cheeseburgers, please. The fact that he snap checked, oh, and we made a wheel. Okay. Well, unfortunately, we're going to make almost no money here with our 5 clubs. It's kind of like another example of running badly. It's another example of running badly when your good hands make no money. You get fought by all your marginal hands. You know, there's so much variance in poker. It's unbelievable. And we made a wheel at the end, too. I got a wheel, bitch. I've always wanted to do it to somebody in person. You know, you make a wheel and then they call you and you just go, I got a wheel, bitch. I'm not even sure what voice I'm supposed to be making with this. It's like a Britney Spears sort of thing, you know? But I don't know. I just feel like it would be hilarious with the right person, of course, as the victim of this. You know, it would be hilarious to do it to, you know, Dan O'Brien is who comes to mind as someone that I would enjoy torturing in that way. But less fun for, I think, you know, a wide other percentage of the population. Anyway, so as I told you, you know, make some friends, share some hand histories, drop down, play smaller stakes. I think those are 2 easy ways you can work to, you know, get your confidence back up and try to improve your downswing. But honestly, like, poker is a brutally long sort of like long-term game, you know? I mean, have I ever had losing months? Oh yeah, for sure. Have I ever had losing years? Nope, thankfully not. But, you know, that's not a crazy thing. And I've had people in my life who have had losing years who play a lot more poker than me, you know, and I'm sure I'm capable of having a losing year as well if I really, like, you know, I mean, certainly if I played like this kind of volume, but I don't know if, you know, maybe I could have I believe that it's at least possible that I could have a losing year and still be your winning player, you know, especially with the volume that I play. If I played, you know, 25 tournaments, you know, you're not exactly guaranteed to win one. So just saying, variance is brutal. Prepare yourself for it. That's actually kind of why bankroll management is so key, because, you know, that's the only way you can survive these swings. The whole point of bankroll management is to let you survive so you can make it to the long run. For run it up, I'm not really as concerned about that, because I feel like we'll just adjust, and it's supposed to be a show, so, you know, there's some fun in the sweat of it all. So I think that for me, it's not as a concern, really. But for you guys at home, you should definitely be trying to follow some bankroll management guidelines. You know, try to have at least 30 buy-ins for the cash games you're playing. You know, much more than that, if not much more than that. If you're multi-tabling or playing a lesser, you know, like a sit and goes, obviously you want to have more buy-ins than that. Tournaments, you want to have more buy-ins than that. I'm a little concerned here because he raised and then just potted the flop, but we have top pair after all, so I'm not yet going anywhere. Against the check here, I think we're going to be pretty happy with a bet. I think we can bet $6 here pretty comfortably. If he raises, I'll be concerned, that's for sure, but I think we just win that pot there pretty often on the turn. All right. No subject. Bankroll management question. We just pretty much talked about that, so let's not do that. Okay. Guess we're gonna raise here. Don't see why not. 2 7s in position. Dear J. Carver, I've tremendously enjoyed running up so far, and I'm excited to continue on the journey. Your videos have been awesome. Thank you. And I'm very glad to hear you're going to stop drinking before the videos. To 100 more. No respect, nothing. Daniel, thank you, sir. Appreciate your nice comments. Dear J. Carver, love the vids, yo. Thanks, brah. Have you seen the movie Runner yet? And if so, what did you think of it? Did you think it puts a negative outlook towards online gambling? I have not seen it, so I can't really comment on it. It's not exactly one of those things where I'm like, gotta see it. In this hand, he limped, we raised, and then he just bet out, I believe, on the other two streets. Our hand is just too good to fold, especially getting 4-1. Could we be beat? Yeah, for sure. But he could have a 6. He could have all sorts of nonsense. I don't think we can fold here. He could definitely have jacks or things like that, and we could be just losing, but I don't think we can fold at any particular point in this hand. I mean, we just have too good of a hand. We just win too often given the math, I think. If we had a hand that was weaker, we can talk about folding. I think if we had like 5s, 3s, but I think given that we have exactly 7s, I think that's a hand that we can play with pretty near identically to that. And him having 9s, he limped and then called and then just bet small. We would have lost the same amount, I think, if you had just if he had just check called 3 streets. Maybe we would have checked back one of them on the river maybe or something, but we would have lost similar amounts if we were the aggressor and he was not the aggressor. Anything else interesting to be said about that hand? I don't think so. I feel like with all the hands we show up with in that spot as the aggressor, and never mind the ones that see the river, I feel like we will show a profit with that, even though we didn't in that particular instance. I think that he does have like King Jack, Jack 10, Queen Jack, Ace Jack, stuff like that. He definitely has those some solid percentage of the time. He has pocket pairs better than us, rarely, because there's not too many of them, but he does have those some of the time, and I guess occasionally he has better than that as well, 3 of a kind or something like that. So I think all in all, we do okay there, but in that particular instance, we obviously did not do okay. It happens. Go get him, Slugger. Thank you. Go get him, Slugger. Go let him know. Just give him the business. Show him how it's done. I like how you have... You didn't even write any of these things. You just wrote that as your subject here. Nice real talk. I'm at number 100. About time you're actually starting betting on a heater, huh? That's right. We're up $1.25. The heater has begun. It's coming out of my vagina as we speak. I'm giving birth to it. It's an amazing, beautiful thing. $1.25. Oh, brother. We've got a long way to go. And then you ask, can you give us a close-up of your teeth? No. No, thank you, though. Thank you for the opportunity. What in the world? Tyson. Hey, bud. Congrats on running up number 100. I'm a fan of Joe Rogan's podcast, as am I, and am really looking forward to the day when you are a guest on the show. Me as well. I actually have increasingly felt like Joe Rogan is kind of like who I want to be when I grow up. Like, I feel like he's done a great job for what he wants. What is his job? He hangs out and does exactly what he wants to do with people that he likes, talking about whatever he feels like, and somehow gets paid tons of money to do it. How is that not the dream? That sounds like the dream to me. So I feel like I really respect Joe a ton and what he's accomplished, and he's an amazing performer. I've seen him do stand-up. I've seen him do like a Q&A for the UFC, and I actually thought the Q&A was almost more entertaining than the stand-up. Not that the stand-up wasn't funny, but the Q&A I thought was much more interesting because he was answering a lot of questions and sharing his thoughts on stuff, and I thought it was like a great way that he did the Q&A, generally speaking. I was really impressed by that back at the Fan Expo over the summer. So I thought that was pretty awesome, and I'm a big fan of Joe for sure, and his show. And I would love to be a guest on the Joe Rogan Experience, of course. We need to make this happen. We're like UFC cousins, We're kind of, sort of, Uncle Lorenzo is kind of, we got to make this happen. I just don't know how. But you should tweet Joe Rogan and let him know. Tweet at Joe Rogan and be like, hey, this is Jay Carver. He's a cousin. I don't know. I have to think about what I want you guys to say. So hold on off for now. But yes, I would love to. I would definitely go on his show, which is your question. P.S. My wife loves repeating your tone of voice whenever she catches me watching Run It Up. What does that mean? She just sees you watching and is like, "What are you doing?" I don't know what to say. Thank you, I guess. But that's hey, I don't know. I feel like wives and girlfriends around the world probably do that to their significant others that are us running the warriors, you know. I don't know. Maybe I have to do the cook it up with Jay Carver or something. We have to the ladies' night somehow. We have to somehow convert the significant others of the Legion into running up warriors, maybe, so we can all kind of have an excuse to hang out more often or something, right? So he just did this last orbit. Remember when we had the King 5 and we called and he check folded turn? So I'm definitely not folding top pair here. I am a little more concerned because there are 5 contestants in this pot here, but certainly going to start with a call, and we'll go from there. If anybody is too aggressive, I guess we just fold, but looks like that's not going to happen in this particular case. So we have a decision here between folding and calling, and I believe that both are viable. I actually kind of believe that because he check folded last time, that he's going to be a little bit more. He'll either be stronger here or be he's probably not got nothing. I think is the kind of the key. But I'm gonna call here, and we're gonna see a river. There's too many draws and stuff out to fold this turn, I think. And at this point, I feel like I'm probably not folding as well. He can have too many flush draws, straight draws, things like that. Worse even, and we only really lose to. We lose to think about hands he has to have for us for him to play this way and be this strong. He has to have 3 of a kind, 2 pair, even ace 10 wouldn't be super comfortable here. 2 kings, two aces. There's not too many hands that he can have here that really want to play this strongly. And I think we win often enough getting 2-1 in position. There are enough hands that will fold and enough hands that he'd want to bluff. All right. All those words, we were never folding. That's right. We were never folding, just talking through it. But, all right. Hey, look, we won a pot with the best hand. We made a pair, didn't fold, got money. Wow. Step 1, made a pair. Step 2, didn't fold. Step 3, that's right. Claw. That's right. The claw is the key ingredient. I feel like we've done the other 2 things very often in these last couple of weeks of videos. We have made a pair, not always, sometimes though. It didn't fold very often. Claw though hasn't been functioning. The claw's been in the Toshiba repair shop, I guess. I think we can call this. Do I love it? No, but I think this is actually better than the King 10 spot of before. We are at least somewhat possibly also going to get position, which is even sweeter. And we have a perfectly reasonable hand against a guy who's attacking limps, and this guy who, we have a decent read on him. I think we have a decent understanding of where Mr. August usually will fall about, although perhaps not, and now we just fold. All right. Nice Tyson's email. Tyson running the warrior just powered us to healer here. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Dear Jay Carver, I just noticed I didn't attach my file to the UFC 169 submission. That sucks. Yes, that's possible you did not. Sorry about that. All you guys that did send me submissions, I read all of them, looked at all of them. We got so many of them that I didn't respond to a lot of them. But I did read all of them, and that was really cool of you guys to send me things. If you didn't attach your file, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There were guys that sent me messages on Facebook instead of on email. There's so many. I only have so much bandwidth a day to check things. So sorry if you sent them to not the place that I wanted you to, because that obviously reduced your chances of winning. Anyway, I was wondering what musical artists you're into now, and also how your tastes have evolved over the years. That's a very interesting question, actually, I think. Although, maybe not very interesting to you guys, but to me, it's something that I've thought about over the years, because, the first round of music that I listened to as a teenager was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Killers, and that's right. I repressed an instinct to sing some Killers for you right here. I repressed it, and you should be grateful for that. Like I definitely was into like Coldplay, Queens of the Stone Age. I listened to a lot of Alt Nation on Sirius XM. That was like the station I listened to. A little bit of like the Octane, if you're familiar with their channels. I was big onto them as well. I was much more like into like the rock and alternative back then. And then it kind of evolved into a little bit more, I wouldn't necessarily say angry, but there was a phase in my life where I was into like Rammstein and things like that. Angsty Jay Carver, a little angsty teenage Jay Carver back in those days. And we all go through that, though. Sometimes you just need a little, friar fry or whatever that. My German is great, right? You need some of those angry German songs sometimes, And then I evolved from there into more of like more rap. I would actually say Jedi Mind Tricks, if I could speak, would be something I would say. Wu-Tang Clan. I would say like Jedi Mind Tricks is probably one of the ones that I was most like hooked into because I didn't really realize rap could be like that. It was so different, the Jedi Mind Tricks songs, and it was so like I don't know. I was really captivated by them a lot in my early 20s, I would say. And then I discovered Lupe Fiasco, who has probably remained my favorite artist of all time since discovering him, I would say. I think he is an amazing lyricist and tells stories fantastically through so many of his songs. And I think "Hurt Me Soul" is my favorite song, period, ever. Beautifully written. It's got an amazing flow to it, and I would know all about flow. Let's be real. And rap expert Jay Carver says "Hurt Me Soul's got good flow." And I think that that's definitely a favorite artist of mine. And then I think I kind of like swung back in the other direction, kind of just like expanded in the last few years. I had a really big Nirvana kick for a while where I don't remember what the anniversary was. It might have been just a 20th anniversary or something of existing or something like that, where they released a 3 CD set of like all the songs ever or something like that. And that kind of got me hooked a lot on Nirvana, especially their like older stuff and more acoustic type of things. And then I guess more recently it's kind of like I have actually found a fondness for more electric type of music and electronic. I'm a fish, let's be real, people. But like, not really, obviously, as I can't even say the genre right. But, I think like you've heard it on some of the streams. There's at least an influence in there. I'm looking now to see what else, if I'm missing anything ridiculous. Oh, yes. And then there's, of course, somewhere in there's a Beatles stage, by the way, where I was big into the Beatles. Probably right around where the Rock Band came out, which I was obsessed with for a little while. And then Kanye, obviously one of my favorites. Kanye, one of my friends has a joke. There's it's not really a joke either. There's the Beatles, Michael Jackson, maybe the Rolling Stones, and then Kanye West. He says it to everybody just to see their reaction, and he actually believes it, I think, and I kind of believe it too. I think Kanye is great. I don't know if he's like that level of great, but I'm a big Kanye fan as well. And Jay-Z, a big fan of, obviously, I would say. And yeah, I don't know. I have a pretty big range of music that I would say that I can at least appreciate, if not that I would say that I'm into. So yeah, there's that. I realize we're getting to like a longer part of the video, but I actually had this idea. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I was considering, instead of doing multiple shorter videos, not all the time, mind you, but just doing occasionally longer videos for like longer sessions. We can have more reads, more information, all of that stuff. Doing like a 2-hour video that kind of covers like 2 days worth of video time. And if I want to do a video the next day, I can, but at least like, as far as the credit for the video, that kind of thing, doing like a, Joe Rogan obviously does like super long shows less frequently instead of doing like, 30 minutes every day. But if he can, he does them more often. But I don't know how long I'll be casting this for, but I think that I might do that kind of thing. We play for an hour and a half every other day instead of playing for 30 minutes every day. That might not be a bad idea for weeks that I'm more busy with things, even though I don't think this week would count as that, for being honest. I feel like this week has actually been relatively quiet. I had like a really relatively quiet day yesterday. I actually got like all my work done. It was kind of amazing. I was done relatively early. But yeah, I'm enjoying myself, so I'm not going to wrap the video up for the time being. We continue on. Dear JC, what's in your PC? David from Windy, England. Well, I wasn't going to answer you except for the fact that I really like what you did here. So, thanks, Dave. I don't really have any great answers for you, though. It's expensive. I know that much. Because, maybe you don't know, but for me, as a nerdy kid, I would always want the most, cutting edge technology for my gaming experiences. But, at some point, people would say to you, and I at least heard this very often, oh, you don't need that. You only need that if you're doing heavy video processing. And so I would be like, oh, okay. I'd be all mopey Jay Carver, And but these days, because I actually do that, I was able to spend the money and thus have a video now that I do actually do video stuff. So I spend the money on a pretty sick machine and thus now have a very solid setup for both gaming and video processing. All the things I could not spend money on when I was younger, I now had at least some reason to. So I did kind of go wild on this setup here once I moved out to Vegas. But I couldn't tell you the first thing about what's in it off the top of my head, unfortunately. I'm not going to dig through the control panel right now just to let you know, unfortunately. So I just defended here with 2/8. I don't, always do this. I was considering raising, but I felt like calling would be okay. Given that the flop checked through, and now here we are on the turn, I actually think that we could have the best hand here, but if we don't, we're so far behind, and there is a player behind us who is at least somewhat capable of checking back with an ace, although I don't think it's happening very often. And we do beat this guy. We beat this guy sometimes, for sure. He has flush draws, straight draws, stuff like that, but I think folding is certainly a reasonable option. Dear Jay Carver, do you work out? Why not? What kind of, how can you ask why not before you get my answer? I don't. So I guess your question was correctly predictive. The reason why not is I don't have the time, really. But, I mean, I have from time to time in the past, at times with a relatively high frequency, but I haven't in a couple months at least. Well, no, it's not true. Maybe like once or twice a month in the last months, I would say. But yeah, not nearly as often as I should. At least I get to walk a lot these days, so at least I am relatively physically active with that. But yeah, I should definitely do that more. We could run it up for workout it up one time a week, I guess. We could move that time around, but that ain't me, yo. Sorry. Dear Jay Carver, if you could be any League of Legends champion, which one would you be? You're my favorite poker player because you play League. Well, I'm glad that's what convinced you. Thanks, Kevin from Ohio. Well, thanks, Kevin from Ohio. Oh, look, 2 pair. Thank you, Kevin from Ohio, for giving us 2 pair, blessing us 2 pair with your presence here. Seems like a pretty good spot for us to bet. Could bet less than $1.50, I guess. $1.25. All right. $1.25 it is. Which champion could I be? Well, you gotta think much differently in terms of if I was going to be one, you'd have to pick one that was really useful in the current world. So man, I'm so unlucky. I mean, obviously not super unlucky, but very unfortunate. Getting no action on these big hands of ours. But I don't know. LeBlanc would be a pretty sick thing because you have a teleport, short range teleport. That's pretty sick. You know what I mean? That's pretty amazing. As far as utility goes, I think that's got to be up there. I don't know if I have like a better singular like skill. I would think of it in terms of utility, not in terms of like style points. Like if only I could be Trindmere. Like I don't think like I don't think in terms of things like that. I think I would value skill sets and teleportation. Boy, that would be a pretty nifty thing all in all. I haven't used the word nifty very often. It was a thing I used very often in my like teenage youth. But I don't know. I abandoned nifty at some point in my life, I suppose. Pretty good turn card for us here. We've now collected our 4th blue card. That's right. In the collection it goes. I'm planning on betting twice here because I do believe we can get better hands than 10 high to fold. I actually also think we're going to just raise here because how in the world does this guy have something that's very strong? And we can have a hand that's very strong. Why can't we have queen 10 or 2 pair or something like that? I think that's at least possible, if not likely, but I think it's possible. And I believe that there's just such a small % chance that this guy's got something that's like strong enough that can like do all this and bet call. And if he does call, we still have a pretty good shot at rivering something here. And we did river something, although not exactly the thing we were trying to river. So we have a decision between betting and checking. Very weird. Very weird. Like, there's really not a lot of hands that would make a lot of sense for him to even play this way. But I don't think calling is correct, because I don't think we're going to win enough. He just doesn't have, like, queen 9 of clubs or queen 9 of diamonds often enough for us to call. And I think raising is just, at this point, definitely. I mean, again, if I had, like, a time bank, maybe I would be able to consider doing something aggressive there. But, it's possible he has a hand as good as 2 pair. It's possible he has, like, ace-jack or king-jack and is just betting for a straight-up value. But it's funny because in that spot where we raised on the turn, we only really show up with 2 sets of hands. We show up with hands that are very good, in which case he's betting $7 he's never going to see again, probably. We have 2 pair or a straight or something. Or we have a combo draw, in which case I guess the 5 will have not completed us. We have either like a pair and a flush. We have like either, I forget what the suits were for what exactly, but either we have like a pair and a draw, or we have something on the turn that we have a ton of equity against, and on a lot of different rivers we'll win on. Whether it's a club or a diamond, a queen or a 10, there are a lot of river cards that I think would we'll put him in a lot of trouble with. The way the exact board ran out with our exact portion, we had the portion of our hands that isn't very strong. So yeah, it didn't work out for us that time. But I think I actually like how he played that hand all in all. Not only does our turn raise alone sometimes win that pot, but if it doesn't, we still have a good amount of other opportunities on the river. That's right, the good old 101 dealer. 101, an hour and 1 minute into the video, at least on my recording. I think I started pretty near close to the start of this recording. All right, off to the flop we go. Okay, suppose that's not the best flop. Okay, I guess we'll bet. Backdoor flush draw, ace high. Backdoor straight draw, 2 backdoor straight draws if we're counting. Pretty good turn card for us. I think we can bet twice here. Something like $4 seems fine. If he has a jack or a 10, he's going to be hard-pressed to fold. He'll feel kind of bad about it, at least. I actually think there's an option of raising here, which is actually very strong. I actually think raising here is very good because we're going to fold out so many bluffs. We're going to be bluffing on this card very often, which is why we have to call here now, because we do actually have it, and we can't bet fold an ace when we actually do have it, when we anticipate that he will anticipate that we will very often not have it on the ace turn card here when we are betting. So now we check. I believe it will go check here pretty often, and I also think we would win pretty often. He could just have us beat, of course, with like 2 pair, king queen, something like that. But yeah, I actually wonder if he's capable of folding like a 2 pair hand if we shoved this river, because we could definitely have diamonds and play it exactly this way, right? I think I'm gonna try this. I think this will work actually pretty often. I guess not. Oh, man. Damn it. Nice hand. I mean, that's sad. It's sad that he actually had it because, like, I guess I could have just shoved on turn. No, let's talk about that, I guess. That kind of sucks. I mean, I thought that it was possible that I thought it was very possible that he had nothing, in which case then calling is equally good to shoving, but I also thought that there was a possibility that he had a hand that was better than us, that he had either like 2 pair or something like that he would at least heavily consider folding on the river. And the fact that he didn't, obviously, with his exact hand, doesn't really mean anything because obviously the nut flush is not folding. But I thought that there was a decent chance that he would fold a hand that was better than ours and that we would just win that hand pretty often. So for us to lose that pot on the river, he has to A, have a hand that is capable of calling and that is better than us, and then would require... so yeah, he has to have a hand that is better than us and not bluffing. And then he has to have a hand that is... I feel like, oh wow, he bluffed that with 7-8. Sorry, I was distracted by the overbet shove on the river with the nothing, and then he shows it just for the fun of it. But yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that was a little bit too. I actually don't think it was even that ambitious. I think it was fine. You know, if he's never bet folding the river, obviously it's a terrible mistake. But I thought that he was at least capable of turning a better hand, or of bet folding a better hand than ours, and that he would very often just have nothing anyway because he would think that we're betting the turn pretty often with on the ace there, and it just didn't work out for us. So yeah, I mean, that kind of sucks that we lost that pot there. You know, we lost $50 on the river that we didn't have to lose. But I still think that it's okay all in all, and that the math of it isn't just like minus $50. We have that play has some sort of equity to it. And I believe it could actually even be a winning play. It just didn't work out in this time because plays like that, either they work or they don't. So plays like that, either you torch the 50 or you win the pot and all of it, So obviously it's hard to say. All from the 101. We should make it 102. That's right. We've got our eye on the next one already. 102 time now. That's right. It's 102 time now. All right. Let's see if we can't pull another couple of these. Dear J. Carver here. Dear J. Carvers. Looks like we're mostly back into apprentice things now because we didn't really do Dear J. Carvers for a little while. So yeah, if you guys want to send me an email, dearjcarver@gmail.com. Hey, maybe we can make a straight here. We've already made it to 4 in a row status. Okay, here we are with a lead. So my plan is probably just to call. Could arguably raise as well. I think actually raising is fine. I think raising or calling are both equally pretty near viable. I guess because we did just lose that other hand, maybe calling makes a little bit more sense. He will fold better than this. So, all right, calling I guess is fine. If I hadn't thought as long, I guess calling is more sensible. And it also allows us to call on turns like this, which is kind of neat. Or at least prevents us from like raising and then making some weird decision. Against a check, that's kind of odd. We could bet or check back. I think both are viable. Let's check back, I guess. Well, I don't know. I think we could do either, to be honest. I guess because we've played this hand pretty passively, we can just stick with that kind of like passive idea. I guess we can just kind of like check back and see what happens. I guess at this point we just fold. Could he have the best hand, or could we have the best hand? Yes, I suppose it's possible, but I think folding seems fine. Man, that hand kind of sucks. It kind of sucks because it's like so disastrous when we lose, and it's very similar. Not very similar, but we could have just called. Obviously, we were never folding, right? So it's not like we went from losing. Whatever it was he bet. It's not like we went from losing. We didn't go from losing the 50 to losing 0 or winning the pot. We would have obviously still lost the 20. So we just lost an extra 30 that we didn't have to, assuming I have the numbers right, or whatever that number is. So yeah, it's about 30, I think. So we lost 30 more than we had to. But I think it's okay all in all. I don't love it, obviously, but I guess it's not the greatest. The standard way to play it is just to call, I think, and then we just lose. But I thought there would be a chance we could get him to fold better hands than ours. We could definitely have flushes of our own. It's hard to make him fold when he has the hand we're representing, though, you know? Damn it. At least it went to a run-up warrior. At least that's it. You watch the show, you win money off the show. It's a great thing, all in all. It's we look out for our own here on Run It Up, apparently. Tickets and check raise all in, bluffs on the river, turning pairs into bluffs and things. The usual. Just another day here in the Run It Up headquarters. Probably not going to play for too many more orbits. We have been playing for a while already. Not that that necessarily means a lot. But yeah, I think I'm planning on making a video again for tomorrow. But maybe this will count for 2 videos. I'm not really sure. It will depend on if I have other things going on. But let me know what you guys think about that. Doing like one mega session, kind of like this, only even a little bit longer. And if you guys like that idea, I think this board is just too much for us to even try to attack. I think we're against 2 players. I think I'm fine just giving up here. It's just too connected. Even if we did have the best hand, it's not by much, and we're just gonna make too many mistakes, I think. So we'll play for another round and see how that goes. One more orbit for the fans. That's right. An extra one last orbit. Round and round and round we go. But if you guys like this idea of doing like hour and a half long videos, not all the time, mind you, just as like things to do from time to time, when especially for weeks that I am like busier, because I've been trying to think of like how to better balance running up with crazy weeks, generally speaking. And this isn't really a super crazy week, like I said, so I don't really have I don't think this is like a week I have to do it for, but I wouldn't hate the idea of doing longer videos, maybe like a longer video one time a week that counted for like 2 video days, so people could actually watch it and catch up, because I don't anticipate people will all watch this video in one sitting, at this length, never mind if it goes on for another hour or whatever. I guess also if I'm going to do it this long, I could also just stream, because now I have a way I can stream with hole cards being recorded for YouTube, so I could just stream for one of these mega sessions as well. That also could be an option. All the options in the world and more over here. All right, so this will probably be our final orbit, because I forgot also that I have to actually process this video, and it won't come out already until like 2 hours after I'm done, because it's so long. So, all right, we'll do one more orbit, and then I'll wrap this up, unless we do some crushing. Ace Queen. Wow, I've never seen that before. I've never seen, not never, I guess, but everybody shows their cards consistently one step better until we got to the last person. That was beautiful. A beautiful cascade of poker moment. That's right. All right. Gonna be completing here. Don't see why not. No pair for us. It's all right. It's all right. We've got to earn it. We got to earn these pots. They don't pay us for them when we have flushes, 2 pairs. We try to win with nothing. We try to turn our nothings into profitable situations, but has not worked out for us so far, unfortunately. I believe we're gonna fold this. Shockingly enough. So don't forget, Dear J. Carver inbox, for at least the recent inbox, is nearly empty. So you guys can write me an email, dearjcarver@gmail.com. Could be about a poker hand, although I would prefer it not to be honest, because, that's better. It's hard to do like a reading medium for reading hands and stuff. So if you have hands, you should post those on my Facebook wall, facebook.com/jcarverpoker. That's a cool place for hand discussion. I hop in there from time to time and share my 2 cents. And there's a whole bunch of other run-up warriors that do post on there, so you should go hop over there if you're into that kind of thing. And what was I talking about before that? Oh yeah, the Dear J. Carver inbox. Don't forget, you can also email me over there. Any kind of thing on your mind, send it over. You might see it on the show. It's at least a possibility. Ace 5 again. We will be raising this or playing it for some sort of method. We'll probably raise here. I mean, man, it's a good thing we won the hand with the queen 10, or the ace queen rather. If we hadn't won that hand, that was $25 that we would not have seen, or if we had lost that pot, it would have been even worse. But I feel like we've had to like scrape and battle for the pots we've had to win this session, and obviously we lost the stupid hand with ace 4, which I'm annoyed about only because like maybe we miscalculated slightly with the hands he did, but I don't know for sure. It's very hard to tell with smaller sample sizes. So the only time we've seen him do this before, he claimed queens, and I kind of believe him that he did have queens. I don't think that we can call a pot size bet here. We don't even have a full stack. You know, I think if he had made it like 6, we could call, but I think for a pot we can just fold. He's gonna just have us beat too often and just have us like, I don't think he's gonna show up here with like king jack ever, or at least not too often. So I think we can fold there and not feel too bad about it. The hands he's re-raising are just gonna crush us so often, and we are wrapping up our session. So even if we did flop like something good, or you know, there's no like extra level of value for calling that, you know, we're not going to gain any kind of like meta game sort of like advantages by calling there or anything like that. So I think folding is fun. Just play that straightforwardly. So let's talk about our session all in all. There were a couple hands that I kind of did regret that I could have played a little bit better. The king 10 call early on, I think that was probably a slight mistake. We probably lost like $1 in value there, or in equity there, maybe closer to $1.50 or $2. Not a hugely significant thing, I'll point out. And then there were a couple hands. There was the one hand where we had 2 pair against him that we bet the river. We could have checked that. That, you know, not saying that was for sure a mistake, but again, like that was probably not the absolute best decision. But I kind of do feel like, you know, a player that was not other players that were dealt the exact same cards that we were dealt in the spot would lose a similar amount of money that we did. You know, they wouldn't necessarily have lost the full pile that we did against him, but they wouldn't have won the money that we won against that guy. So those kind of even out, and the rest of the session was just basically not really much. You know, there wasn't really too many good places to farm to win money, I think. So not the sweetest of sessions, but some interesting hands for sure. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below, and I'll be back for more very soon. Peace.